You don't just sit down and write goals. When I sit down to write goals, it takes me time, months sometimes, to figure out what they are. That's number one. Number two, the notion inside of it is people talk about they want it, to be something they're passionate about or something that brings life. And that's right, but you can't get rid of the hard. Passion actually means the thing you're willing to suffer for. Yeah. Right? That's what passion means. So we often say, what hill are you willing to die on? And not to put too high a stakes on this, I think it's more like, what hill are you going to die on? Right. It's that kind of thing. Yeah. So the question here is something like, what are you willing to sacrifice for? Because if you're not willing to sacrifice for it, then somebody's going to have to use punishment or reward systems to get you to do it. Yeah. And if you sit with yourself and ponder that over time, I think that stuff starts to emerge. But you have to be honest with yourself. Yeah. About that. So what are you willing to sacrifice for? It's going to cost you something. If you think that you're going to, New Year's resolutions are coming, everyone's going to go to the gym and all the gym memberships are going to spike. And then in February, they're going to tank. They will. Because they will do that every year. And I think it's built into the gym membership model. Like, okay, January will be good. Yeah. But the problem is people have the idea of fitness, but then when they have the experience of what it takes to get there, like, I'm not willing to sacrifice for that. Exactly. Right. So I think that's one of the ways to think about this. The other way is I would start small. Don't overdo it, but begin to find your voice as you're setting goals and learn the difference between your voice and others' voices. And when you learn how to do that, you can, that's my parents talking. Oh, that's my boss talking. And doesn't make it wrong or bad. It's just a different voice. Yeah. What is your voice?
Yeah. One of the things that we do when we're meeting with clients at different times throughout our processes, we'll get the client into a self-centering place. And part of that process is we say, hey, let's just take a moment and let's go ahead and, ask our spouse, the voice of our spouse, to leave the room for a moment. Did your kids follow you in here? Maybe they're not literally here, but you're carrying that. Let's just move them out, put them in the waiting room. Yep. Even your boss. Yep. It's like, all these taboos. No, let's just ask your boss. Go get a cup of coffee. even God, right? Yeah. We'll do this because we're trying to get them to go learn how to listen to your voice. And it's a thing that some of us, we've never felt the permission to do it. And for others, we've been afraid to go down. We're not familiar with it. Maybe we haven't been asked not to do it. We've just been afraid to go there because we don't know what's lurking in that place. But typically, it's going to feel a bit, mysterious, and maybe even, trigger a little bit of fear in you because you're starting to come out with things that you can be judged by. These are things that, I do want to do these, but I've never said it before in public. Right. What are
They're
people
often secrets.
Think? Yeah, exactly.
I think of it as there are certain things that I would rather have the idea of, that knowing that if the circumstances are ever right, I'll get to do this thing I want, than to actually risk doing it and failing at it, because then I feel like, well, then I can't have it. Yeah. And that's not how it works. Yeah. So we hold these secrets inside of us, and it can even be revelatory to ourselves that we want something. When we want something like that, we introduce ourselves to the possibility of failure, and failure hurts. And there's no way to make it not hurt. Right. Are you resilient enough to fail, learn, and then go at it again? That's the question. Yeah. There's also a reality to this, that it sometimes takes decades to get a meaningful, deep answer to this question. Like if the listener's in their mid-20s, we'll say, and they're really convinced that they're passionate about something, they're going to go after it. It's like, well, maybe, but have you ever done it before? And they're like, no. And it's like, okay, let's go do that thing and find out if we're passionate through the doing. Right. It's a great idea. I'm on board, but let's engage it and go try this thing and not be afraid to let it go or fail at it. That's all right, because what we're going to do is try on numerous things through that season. And then in all of that work, there's this collective understanding of, oh, it's over there. Yeah. There's usually a through line to that experience when you look at it retroactively. but clarity is only retroactive.
Right. Yeah.
And so you have to be willing to say, I want this, and then go after it and go, that wasn't quite it.
Yeah.
And that can be hard.
So as we wrap here, one of the things we might be saying is, as we close out 2023, we're looking into 2024, maybe take the courage to level up your goal setting. Yeah. We know you're going to have kind of a revision of 2023 goals that carry over into 2024. They're just changing them a little bit here and there. Maybe they're a little bigger, and that's all good, normal. But think about adding an intrinsic goal into the mix if you're not familiar with doing that. And then see, as you practice, see maybe how more dimensional or how more fulfilling your 2024 may be over 2023.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would add to that. I love that idea. And I would add to it that if you're the kind of person who goes, I don't do goals, right? I don't like the pressure that it creates. I would suggest to you that you've probably primarily been experiencing it through an external motivated set.
Right.
And okay, don't do those goals. That's fine. But when we're using the word goal, we're connecting to something you probably really want to do, which is do something that matters to you. Do things that have meaning and purpose in them. And articulating goals around that is what we're talking about. And that's the intrinsic. And so maybe re-engage goals, but do it very differently in your own voice.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are stepping away. They've given up on goals. And I would suggest that if you're behaving in the world, you're actually going after a goal, right? All behavior is motivated. And so you probably do have goals. But doing the work of getting those articulated and then elevating them, like you're saying, and finding your yes, it just pays dividends in wonderful ways.
It does.
It is hard. It's just worth it.